I do not know a lot of things, but one thing that I've come to find most recently in the past couple of years is that being a man in this modern day world is hard. There's a lot that's expected, there's a lot of internal battles that we're facing, a lot of depending on which, if you grew up in a similar environment to me where you have had stuff happen to you and you basically repressed it or tried to outwork it, and then all these years it's now coming back. So you're having to fight all this stuff from your childhood whilst trying to build a life for yourself, your loved ones, and you're just in this weird reality in which where life is generally hard. And I want to sort of like focus on that as a centerpiece for today's video, and how returning to faith, aligning with God, all of that, just returning to faith has basically fixed all of that. It's certainly not made it easier by no measure, but I'm going to share with you some things that when you are navigating and walking in this world, some things that you can just add to your rulebook, how you essentially operate. And if you can begin to change that, make some little mindset shifts, you'll find that where you used to find darkness, there's now light. When you do encounter struggles and times of testing, whether it be from people, jobs, situations, it could be money, finances, it could generally just be a standard and quality of life that you want for yourself. By adopting these things that I'm going to share with you, it's going to make it a lot easier to weather that storm. Because ultimately, and this does tie into my first point I'm going to open with, and it's a bold one, when we go through these stages, whether you're walking with God, whether you're not walking with God, whether you're new to that stage, these things are not going to go away. You are always going to have battles, you're always going to have struggles. So kicking off with the first point, I have a bold one. And I've only met one person in my entire life that shares this idea with me, which shows just how rare it is. I know that there's other people that do speak on similar stuff, but just to hear the words come out of another person's mouth was very important to me. So the first thing is, men should not be happy. Men should not strive to be happy. And that's a very weird one to hear, right? You're probably going to want to clip that, probably going to leave a comment, but I stand by that very, very strongly. As men, we should not strive to be happy. Even if we back this up with scripture, right? There is rarely any passages, I understand there's words and translations, but nowhere in the Bible does it say you should strive to be happy, you should dedicate your life to be happy. It does not say that whatsoever. Now, I speak this video from the mind of a man, that's what I am. I hang around with other men. I can't really be bothered to speak on how that could be translated for the mind of a woman. I understand that feminine energy is different, so I do understand the aspect that they do want to live happy lives, and a lot of what we work hard for as men is to make sure that the women can live happy, right? But let's keep this centered on the point I made. You should not strive to be happy. The reason why I say that is because when you strive to be happy, if you are waking up every single day and thinking, I want to be happy today, can you imagine the follow-on actions that are going to come across from that? 9 times out of 10, the majority of it is going to be sinful or leading you away from either God, your purpose, or your goals, and simply what needs to be done, right? Because if I want to be happy right now, I'm probably going to want to go stick on a film, maybe have a whiskey, have a cigar, scroll some social media, whatever. Not one of those things is aligned to what I need to be doing. So this falls into the point and practice of man where you cannot be doing what you feel is right. You have to show up and you have to do what is required. There is a monumental difference between being happy and being content. That is what you should strive to be doing. Because when you're content in your work. You think that when some of the greatest men that have lived in our lives, Jesus, I can't even, I've opened with Jesus, I can't really put any other names after that, but Jesus was never really walking around thinking, you know what, I'm happy today, so I'm just going to kick back and do whatever. He had a mission to do, and he fulfilled that mission, and he dedicated his entire life to that mission, and he gave up so much for us. So when we look at being happy as a man, the whole concept just doesn't make sense to me. Now, don't take that and be polarizing with it. So when I'm saying you shouldn't be happy, that's not to say that you should live a life of misery, because then that does no good for no one. Your own mind will consume you faster than you can try to outrun it. Instead, what you should try to do is live a biblical life, live a biblically masculine life. So be content, be obedient, be powerful, be a leader, be capable and willing, right? Because God can sometimes call on you, and if He's not calling on you every single second of the day, I guarantee that the people around you will. Your wife is going to need a man, your kids are going to need a father. If you're too focused on being happy, where is that going to put the other people around you for? How are you going to have time to live a God-centered life? It just does not make no sense. So you should not strive to be happy. I've just had my birthday recent, right? And there was many times where I felt, you can feel happy, right? But it was not a feeling I was striving for. If anything, I was content. I was fulfilled. I was very, very grateful. These are the qualities that are going to allow you to still enjoy the fruits of your labor, still live a good life, but you don't necessarily have to fall out of alignment. You don't have to fall out of focus. Being happy is not something that I agree with. Took me a long time to come to that, and I actually had to find that by following a lot of the wrong people first. I'm talking like Andrew Tate, David Goggins for like his very harsh, uncut motivational speeches. A lot of these guys have taught me a lot, but one thing that I always found is that when you are wanting to do something, you can't just wake up and think, I'm a little bit tired today, so I'm going to give less of myself to this goal. People are counting on you. Your younger self is counting on you. God is counting on you. The world is counting on you. God needs to be a strong man. The world needs to be a strong man, and you need yourself to be a strong man. Happiness doesn't really interlink with any of those. Even again, to go back to some of the scripture, whenever it does mention the word happiness, it's usually a byproduct of doing a different action. So being obedient, being willing, loving your neighbour, turning the other cheek, all these different things. It never says, go out and be happy. It just doesn't say that, right? Because happiness is a feeling. So if you can feel happy, you can feel sad. You can feel all these different things, but if you're chasing what you feel, you're always going to be sucked into these short-term gratifications. That's not entirely your fault, right? A lot of that is down to the Western world and what it's actually put forwards and sort of I don't even know the word. It's advertised the fact that a lot of these things sinful are going to bring you happiness. Pills, potions, all these designer clothes, watching sinful TV shows, watching stuff that is just not good for the mind. All of these things the Western world tries to tell you make you happy. Have a work-life balance. Go out and have fun on a weekend and just disregard your goals. None of these things align with what you should be doing, what needs to be done. So the bottom line that I would say here is stop focusing on being happy, focus on what is required, show up and let your work do the actions. Feel content, feel obedient, feel proud in your work. Not prideful, but proud, knowing that at the end of the day, you're laying on your bed at night knowing that you wrote down a list and you did what needed to be done. That will give you contentment, and these feelings are a lot longer lasting. Happiness is fleeting. It's just not something that you should put at the center point of your life. It's not something that you should even be chasing. Next one is being alone. Now this is a powerful one because a lot of men are alone, but when I say be alone, I actually learned to start being still. That's really the point I'm trying to make. And I have done videos on this, plenty and plenty of shorts, but it's just one that I really need to drill down, right? You need to learn to be alone. I have seen men drop their entire life, like I'm talking, some men are dead at 75, or some men are buried at 75, but they're dead at 25. Because the one thing that they decided to do is put a woman at the center of their life. If you're chasing money and you're chasing all of these things above yourself, you're always going to be left chasing a gap. You're always going to be chasing mist. Again, it's not going to lead you to live the life that you were called upon to live. It's not going to lead you to live the life that you want to live. So when you can start to be alone, you can actually start to be alone with your thoughts, your mind, your goals and your purpose, and most of all with God. Everything else starts to make more sense. It's something that took me a long time to learn because I came from an environment where I was always searching for validation from people, right? So I always wanted to be seen. I always wanted other people to tell me I was doing a good job, all of these things. And when I actually started to drop that, it left me with a lot of healing to do. Healing that I'm still doing to this day. But being alone allows me to spend time. If you can't learn to spend time on your own, learn to be alone, you're always going to be used as a crutch for other people. If you need someone to tell you that you're doing a good job, what happens when that person goes? If you need a girlfriend to constantly give you love that you never had, what happens when that girlfriend stops loving you? Because a high chance that she could. Maybe someone else could come along. And then what's going to happen? You're going to left with the gaps that I had. So trust me, I'm not telling you this from, because I read a book. I'm telling you because I've literally lived this, and there's been many nights where I have barely made it through, right? There's not been a dry pillow in sight because the tears have been flowing. There's been all sorts of stuff because, again, I needed these people to do the job that I was meant to be doing for myself. Being alone allowed me to heal myself, stand with myself, and learn to be still as opposed to idle. Because when you're idle with someone or yourself, that's when you start to follow sinful behaviours. So we've looked at being alone, but then now you can actually start to pair that. You can actually start to prime your environment a lot more, and that is being with nature. This is very much situational dependent, depends on where you grow up, what things you have access to, but being with nature has been a huge thing for me. So where I grew up was very city orientated. The most amount of nature I had was probably a canal, and that's it, and even a canal is man-made. A couple of parks here and there. Never really got to be still with nature, so I'm still blown away when I'm going on drives now, seeing the countryside, God's creation. It's truly a beautiful thing. Being with nature will allow you to understand and appreciate the creation that you're in. I had my first religious experience there. I had so many different, mind-altering moments where I've just had this wave of realization of what is possible, what I can do. being with nature will truly open up your eyes. And when I say this, it doesn't necessarily mean that you've got to go out of your way to do like a massive hike. An exercise that I do is I wake up, I go to the gym, I take my pocket Bible with me, maybe a journal if I want to, finish the gym, and then I'll go park up my car and I'll just sit on an estuary, right, which is just a little spot near the river, and it's as close to nature as I can get that's within my day-to-day reach, right? That has done more for me than reading any books, listening to any podcasts. It's just truly allowed me to really set my day up nicely, which I'm very, very grateful for. And also, you get to realise just the beauty of creation. So much building in Western civilization, the cities that we live in, it's soulless, it lacks character. I post videos and reels all the times of like these Roman churches from when I've gone to Italy, and people are just in awe of the creation. It's because we stopped walking without God. We stopped building in the presence of God. The Holy Spirit is no longer there. That's why these buildings just scream and have no character. They're just nothingness, right? So when you can actually learn to be with nature, you can actually understand true creation, true beauty, true essence of just the work of God. And then you'll begin to realise that that same power is the power that rides within you, right? It sits and dwells within you. So then you can go ahead and start your day knowing that you can basically do anything because you walk with God. Next 2 points I'm going to give in combination, right? So be still and read the Bible. They both go hand in hand, because when you're still, you're essentially allowing yourself to rest with God. You're allowing yourself to sit with God. And by reading the Bible, you can interpret pure words, pure knowledge that was given to us in order to live righteous lives. If you are idle and you are not actually learning to be still, you're going to be watching TV, consuming content. Your mind is going to be pulled in different directions. Again, I just had my birthday recently, and I was at a hotel and I was flicking through the TV. I didn't even have a TV. Like, I have a TV, but it's just got like YouTube and apps on. I don't actually watch television anymore. And I must have seen 4 adverts back to back that were like point blank sinful, right? I'm talking lust, I'm talking gossip, I'm talking hatred, behaviour that is just not God aligned whatsoever. And that was just an advert. So imagine what the TV shows are saying. So if you can learn to actually be still, start to read the Bible, you'll find that you can take words that are actually going to be designed to help you live a better life. You'll be alone with your thoughts, which means that you can actually start to make better, clearer and more thoughtful decisions. I've got all these books behind me, right? They're all completely ruined. Since I started reading this one here, the Bible, there we have it, everything has changed, right? The way that I read the Bible is just so much enjoyment, so much wisdom, knowing that it literally came from the greatest man to ever live. All of these other books, it's just like a chore now. It's just completely ruined it, which is a laughable experience. I do still read where I can, but what I'm trying to say here is that when you can start to actually read the Bible, actually start to be about that Christian life that you keep saying that you're living, but when it actually comes to it, you're probably not, then you'll find you'll start to live a better quality life. So I'm going to wrap it up there. We covered some intense things, some big takeaways, and I can only hope that it's going to allow you to live a better, more fruitful life.